As someone who's made 460,000 cold calls in the last 3 years in my telephone prospecting agency, if I was to start again in 2026 and wanted to book meetings through cold calling, here's exactly what I'd do. Because honestly, I've made a lot of mistakes and got a lot of scar tissue, and if I could go back, there are a lot of things I'd do differently to get to this point faster. Especially now, because in today's landscape, there are so many reasons people are using to avoid cold calling. They'll talk about wars and energy prices delaying business decisions. You hear about AI call blockers ruining pickup rates. You see software telling you the best time to call, or just other gurus claiming that their cold calling script is the only one that works. And on top of that, there's this growing fear that AI is going to replace sales jobs altogether. And all of this has just led a lot of people to believe that cold calling is dead. These things become excuses, and because so many people buy into them, they quit before they even give themselves a real chance to improve. But that creates opportunity, because the harder something feels to most people, the less competition there is from people who gave up too early. The opportunity actually gets bigger for the people willing to ignore the noise and just do the work anyway. That makes cold calling just a real high barrier to entry skill. And the higher barrier entry to skills are so much more valuable. So, if I was starting again in 2026, here are the steps I'd follow. First, I wouldn't wait for the perfect time to call. A few months ago, a chap called Ryan came to me because he wanted to get better results on the telephone. The strange thing was, he was actually pretty competent when he picked up the phone. His real problem was just starting. He just kept procrastinating on his planned call blocks, waiting for the right moment. Rather than talking about what we should do, we just started there and then. And by the end of this call block, he had actually booked a meeting. Afterwards, he said, "Look, Joe, if it wasn't for you, I'd have just put this off until next week." You hear this all the time from salespeople, and that's the real lesson. It was not a skill issue, it was a mindset issue. He was just waiting for the perfect time to start, and that was the real thing that was keeping him stuck. And once he started immediately, he realised that there's no perfect time, only starting. A lot of people just delay this action because they think something external is the reason cold calling isn't working. The economy, the market, the timing, the news, AI, gatekeepers, call blockers, whatever it is. But the truth is, businesses are still operating. There's still billions moving through the economy daily. Problems are still happening every day for businesses, and they're always looking for ways to fix challenges that are costing them time, money, growth, or opportunities. Waiting for the best time to call is usually just another form of procrastination. So if I was starting again, I'd start now. The best time to start was 5 years ago, but the second best time to start is now. The second thing to get really clear on is what this actually means. This is really simple, but I define what prospecting is. Prospecting isn't convincing everyone, and it's not getting every person to like you, and it's definitely not expecting every call to go well. Prospecting from the mining world where it originates is sifting through dirt to find gold, and that's it. Prospecting in sales, you're sorting through the market looking for people who have a problem and are actually open to doing something to fix it. And that means finding people who aren't interested. It's not a form of failure. It's actually baked into the process. That's one of the biggest mindset shifts people need to make. Because when you expect every call to go well, the rejection feels personal. When you actually understand that prospecting is sorting and not forcing, your relationships with rejection just changes. You stop seeing uninterested people as a sign you're doing something wrong, and you start seeing them for what they really are. You're polishing rocks, and you have to sort through rocks to find gold. And at the end of the day, if it was easy, it wouldn't be such a valuable and sought after skill. The third thing I do is treat cold calling like a series of micro skills. Stop looking at cold calling as one big skill. Cold calling is really just a small series of micro skills. You've got the opener, you've got the pitch, you've got your ability to uncover challenges, you've got questioning, you've got the ability to find motivation in people, and then you've got the ability to close and book the meeting. A lot of people say too broadly they're bad at cold calling. This is just too vague to be useful at all. What they're actually saying is that they're bad at one or two parts of the process. Maybe it's the opener that's putting people off, maybe it's the pitch is too feature heavy, or maybe they just don't ask questions to follow up and help dig. If I was starting again, I'd break cold calling down into smaller parts, working on improving one micro skill at a time. Because that feels a lot more manageable. It's gamifying the system and you're just tackling the next boss. And it really gives you something specific to fix. Instead of saying, I need to be better at cold calling, you can say, I need to get better at finding the real business problem. Break it down into micro steps, improve that, and then move on to the next. You fix one thing and you deal with the next problem. Stack the skills one at a time. The fourth thing I'd do is I'd measure conversations, not dials. Too many people obsess over the activity for the sake of activity. They focus on how many dials they've made, they wear it like an accolade, how many hours they've spent, how many lists and contacts they've got through. But none of that really identifies what the real goal is. The real goal is conversations with decision makers in your market. So if I was starting again, I'd set a target of 10 real conversations a day with decision makers from my ideal client profile. And once I hit that number, I'd stop. I wouldn't overcook it because that metric tells you something useful. It tells you whether you're consistently putting yourself in enough real selling situations to improve. Cold calling gets better through repetition, yes, but not just through random repetition. It gets better through meaningful reps, real conversations with the right people. That's where you sharpen your opener. That's where you can improve your pitch. That's where you get better at handling resistance, asking better questions, and uncovering genuine problems. I wouldn't measure calls. I'd measure quality conversations with the right people.
Whilst I've got you there, if you're a business owner and you're struggling to get enough meetings in your diary, or you've worked with agencies before who have been quite frustrating or aren't getting the results, DM me on this email here and we can have a chat, see if my services are right for you. Or if you're a salesperson and you're maybe getting stuck at certain points of your script, or you're lacking the confidence to pick up the phone and book meetings via the telephone, or you're just thinking about maybe considering going out, starting up your own lead generation services, drop me a DM on this email here and we can have a chat, see if my services can help.
Number 5, I'd seek the truth, not try to convince people. This is a huge mindset shift. A lot of salespeople get on the phone with the mindset of, how do I persuade this person? But that just creates pressure. And pressure makes you talk too much, it makes you stumble, stutter, it makes you force things. It makes you ignore signals that the person doesn't even have the problem or doesn't care enough to fix it. So if I was starting again, I'd focus on uncovering the truth through questions. Do they actually have a problem? How long has it been happening? How is it affecting them? What's it costing them? What have they already tried to fix it? And do they actually want to fix it? That is the job. Not to push, not to perform, and not to convince someone of something that isn't real. The truth comes out through good questions and just genuine curiosity. Like helping a mate in a pub. When people feel like you're actually trying to understand them, the conversation becomes a lot more natural. You stop sounding like a salesperson and you start sounding like someone who knows how to diagnose a problem. That's what experts do. And people buy from experts because they trust them. In 2026, if I was to start cold calling again, I wouldn't overcomplicate it. I'd start now instead of waiting for the perfect time. I'd remind myself that prospecting is about sorting through dirt to find gold. I'd break down cold calling into a series of micro steps and improve them one at a time. I'd measure real conversations with decision makers in my market and not dials, which is a vanity metric. I'd seek the truth through questioning instead of trying to convince people. And finally, I'd ignore all the noise that makes other people hesitate. Because the excuses people are giving about AI wars and rising costs are the exact things that stop most people before they even begin. And that's what creates the opportunity. If you can block out the noise, control your controllables, and keep improving your opener, your pitch, your questioning, and your ability to find real problems you can help solve, you will get better. And if you get better, you will get results. Thank you for watching.